Hello my dear students, welcome back to the classroom. Now in this class what we are basically going to talk about, portfolio management. सर portfolio management ये तो हमने financial management में पढ़ा था, ये पढ़ा था? अच्छा तो portfolio analysis पढ़ा देते हैं. Now in this class we are going to talk about the portfolio analysis in relation to the product and the market. So what does it mean with the product and with the market? What does that signify? Let me show you something. So beta, this is a product. Portfolio analysis over here basically refers to that how a particular product is going to be fit into this market. When it comes to each and every product, when it comes to each and every business has a particular aim. Every business do carry some kind of strengths, some kind of weaknesses, right? This is what we have covered into SWOT analysis. Every business has some kind of strengths and every business do have some kind of weaknesses as well. Now, so if there are such kind of weaknesses available, then how the business is going to grow? If we talk about how the business is going to grow, what are going to be the stages of growth and what are going to be the situations where a business can basically feel like that it's declining? Just like plastics are banned, so this is a declining stage. For growth, a substitute of plastic is available, let us say paper bags. For them, it's the time to grow. Paper bags are not durable, sir. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But did you got my point? The internet is basically the things associated with internet, they are growing. The things associated with man-made labor, they are declining. Because particularly, a technological thing can do the same work with better accuracy and with less cost. So, after that, every business basically used to strive through that what if they are strong into the position, if they are strong in market, how they can maintain it. अगर strong है तो maintain कैसे करें? That means just like Baba Ramdev is very strong in market. How he is going to maintain it? Or else, if they are weak, how they can basically eradicate or they can basically improve their weak position? अगर उनकी position weak है तो उसको strong कैसे करेंगे? So that is basically a portfolio analysis for each and every business. So there are a number of factors if I talk about. So there can be historical, there can be strategical, there can be economical, there can be environmental, which affect a particular business portfolio analysis. So factors influencing portfolio analysis. Right, now moving ahead. So the very first is vision and mission. Vision / mission. So vision mission, if you talk about vision mission, this is basically something which you guys know about it really very well. After that, there is something known as value system. Value system, that means how much basically the promoters, you guys know about promoters? सुना है क्या होता है? Promoters or shareholders. Promoter is the person as per section, just like your parents. Just like your parents. जिनका नाम तुम्हारी शादी के कार्ड में आएगा, जिनका नाम तुम्हारे एनुअल रिपोर्ट कार्ड के अंदर आएगा, एनुअल रिटर्न, शादी का कार्ड, प्रोस्पेक्टस 26 साल में हो जाती है, सेक्शन नंबर 26. नाउ promoter or shareholder. So how much they basically value your business? How much they value your business? Do they really have an interest in the business, or या सिर्फ पैसा लगा दिया कि हाँ ठीक है चलो पैसे? They only carry an investment, or they do have a particular interest into the business of your company. Now, how that can be signified? Let me tell you, how many of you have heard about Murugappa? Murugappa सुना है? Cholamandalam सुना है? Cholamandalam? Murugappa? नहीं सुना? So, Murugappa basically took over. There was something known as Ed Perry. So this company was basically into liquor business. शराब बेचती थी शराब. So what was after that? The Murugappa management felt that it is unethical. They felt that it is unethical. This is not proper here. We will be never into liquor business. They felt it unethical, and after that, they sold the same company. So how much your promoters, how much your shareholders, how much your management basically values your business. अगर आपने कोई ऐसी जगह पे इन्वेस्ट कर दिया, will this be worthy? No, this will not be worthy. Now, after that, the future of current business. Future of current business. What is going to be your future relating to the current business? What is going to be your future? So if we talk about, you guys must have heard about that ITC, Indian Tobacco Corporation, right? So what they have basically done, they were the first person who was there into tobacco. They felt like that in the future itself, the need for tobacco is going to decline. Huh? After that, you guys have seen, Mukesh in movies as well. मेरा नाम मुकेश, मैं बहुत तंबाकू खाता था, आज मैं बोल नहीं पाऊंगा क्योंकि मेरा कैंसर का इलाज हो रहा है और ये सब कुछ खत्म हो जाता है, right? So they basically felt like that tobacco is something which is injuring the people, and it is the demand for this is going to decline in real future, and in the upcoming very short time. So ITC basically what they have done, they have diversified their business. They have entered into multiple places. The multiple were like that they have basically some kind of hotels, ITC, Morya, suna hai? It's in Delhi. After that, they have financial services. They are into international business. They are into hotels. They are into agricultural business. They are into each and everything. So, not each and everything was successful, but they have made a proper diversification. So what is diversification? We are going to discuss that, but not now. We'll be discussing that later on. Got it, beta? Thoda sa aage chale. So you have to basically look after the current business. If we talk about the business which is going to decline shortly, that is all about construction business. Because the builders, they were unable to deliver the things properly. So government came up with RERA. And day by day, they are making their steps much stringent on the builders. धीरे धीरे builders पे शिकंजा सरकार ने कसा. शिकंजा कसा क्या होता पता नहीं. Now, after that, point number 4. What is going to be the government policy? If I talk about if we talk about the government, what is going to be the government policy? Government does not over here relates to the Aam Aadmi Party or BJP. It really means what does basically the central government policy is all about. Central government and relating to the ministry for which is the concerned ministry for you guys. So after that, government policy. So what basically happens, the very biggest regime or the very biggest reform in India relating to industrial policies that took place in 1991 when new industrial policy 1991 was launched. This was something which totally changed basically the mindset of each and every companies. Right. So that was a regulatory design. What happened after that? That it basically took the permit from many companies, particularly the larger ones who were basically into such kind of business, and they were into diversification as well. Now, after that, 5th point, competitive environment. So how it is going to affect the portfolio, sir? Because beta F. Now, what will happen if there is no competition? Let us suppose there is no competition. There is no other person in the market on the position of seller. Seller की position पे कोई भी नहीं है. Right? So there is no competition when it comes to seller. And this is hence called as a protected market. Known as a protected market. Hope you guys can make proper sentences in this. Beta लिखना कैसे है? ऐसे ही लिखना है. You have to just make proper sentences. You guys are not kids that I'm going to basically write sentences for you guys. So competitive environment. And if we talk about market becomes competitive, market can be competitive. So If that is competitive, it will be difficult for firm to serve. It's unprotected market. It will be really difficult for you to survive. Unprotected market. Right. After that, what happens? What matters is the resources which company has. Company resources. The resources of company, that duly matters a lot. That how many resources does the company have? What is the strength of your company? That matters a lot. After that, supply oblique demand conditions. Supply or demand conditions. So each and every time when it comes to a particular business, beta business may have problems when it comes to the backward part, that they are not getting supply, the supply is not proper, or they have such kind of problems with the forward part. That means the demand is not proper. The demand is not proper. So they can go for backward integration. Sir, backward integration means you can basically enter into a joint venture with your supplier. You have a supplier, you can enter into a joint venture with your supplier. आप अपने supplier के साथ joint venture कर सकते हैं. Now, moving on to next. When it comes to a particular demand, if you are not getting the demand, or if you are basically not demand, and you are unable to serve, or you are unable to basically fulfill the demand, in that case, what you can do, you have some kind of retailers. You can have some kind of retailers, or you do have some kind of basically the people who are over there who make value addition. Beta, if I talk about Maruti, Maruti is something who only basically makes cars. After making the car, they give it to some of the dealers who carry some showrooms. From that dealers, you guys can purchase the cars itself. Right? From those dealers, you can purchase the car. So Maruti, in spite of that, they can also have a kind of joint venture or an alliance with the supplier. Moreover, they can also have an alliance with the dealer. If that is going to happen, they are straight away going to control the demand in case of forward integration. So we used to call it as forward integration. Forward integration. Right? And if we are going to have basically any kind of alliance, any kind of joint venture, any kind of collaboration with the people who are supplying the raw materials to us, but that is going to be again amazing for the business, because you will be getting ample amount of supply to your business without any kind of issues, without any kind of hurdles or constraints. Right? So that is going to be very good for you. Now, point number 7. Okay. Now after that, point number 8. Now just the last point. Competitive moves. What are the moves which basically your competitor is taking? Moves over here does not mean the painkiller move. No. वो painkiller gel की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ मैं उसकी. No. वो over here what is going to happen? That which have basically, if we talk about business having same portfolio. Business having same portfolio. The business is having same portfolio. So what happens? Let me tell you that when Jio came into picture, they come up with 3G, and Vodafone, Airtel, Idea, although they got merged, but they were still onto 3G. What happened over there? They were unaware of the step which is required to be taken by 4G. Reliance Jio, they have taken a step and they have basically thrashed these companies out. Sir, Airtel तो आज भी चल रहा है बेटा, ये इंडियन है इसलिए चल रहा है. Right? So after that, now we are moving towards one of the techniques known as BCG. So BCG, yes. Okay, let me tell you over here. It's BCG. BCG over here refers to it as Boston Consulting Group. Its BCG is Boston Consulting Group. So when it comes to BCG do carries a lot of things. It has such kind of basically limitations as well. They do have, and moreover paper में आ चुका है. अच्छा सर, अच्छा मुद्दे की बात बोला करो, पेपर में आ चुका है. अच्छा देखो. So this is over here what happens to a BCG model. So each and every time your this axis is going to determine the relative market share. That means the x-axis is going to tell you that how you are going to, that basically denotes the relative market share. And in case your y-axis is going to tell you about the market growth rate. Right? So please make sure that over here into the x-axis this part is low and this part is high. So over here if we, बेटा देख लिया ध्यान से, सर ये क्या कुत्ता बिल्ली बना दिया आपने यहाँ पे, है यार ऐसे बोलते हैं तुम लोग, कुत्ता बिल्ली बना दिया यहाँ पे. हाँ, this is the same model, that is the same thing. अच्छा, look over here very carefully. Right? Look over here very carefully. If we talk about, this is dog, this is dog, dogs. Right? So now moving ahead, beta, if we talk about star, so star over here has high growth rate and high market share. Got it? It has high growth rate and it has high market share as well. मतलब दोनों साइड से बल्ले बल्ले. That means the cash generation and cash usage, both of them are high. So these are the products where there is a high share as well as high growth market. So they require capital expenditure in order to grow their business. Require, how should I correct it? कर दो, समझ तो आएगा नहीं ऐसे फिर. If your business is growing, each and every time your market share is good, what will you require? You will require capital expenditure. You will require capital expenditure in excess of the cash whichever you generate. You are generating the cash, whatever the excess amount is there, you have to maintain the market position, but if then you have to basically require capital expenditure. Right? Okay? So if they make the capital expenditure, they can maintain their position. Maintaining their position is also going to give them good marks. Now, there is something known as cash cows. So what are they? Are cash cows? Cash cows are something where the cash usage is very low and the cash generation is very high. Better look over here. Cash generation is high and cash usage is low. So if we talk about, you have a good market share but the growth rate is low. ग्रोथ रेट इज लो है ना बेटा, देखो ग्रोथ रेट लो है और आपका मार्केट शेयर क्या है, दैट इज हाई. नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू नेक्स्ट, इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द कैश क्रोज नीड अ वेरी लिटिल कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. They also need capital expenditure because your growth rate is low, but they need a very little capital expenditure. And they generate high cash income. By making just a little capital expenditure, you can generate high cash income. आप already high पे हो और ऊपर ही जाओगे इससे, right? Okay. Now, these cash crows can be used for financing the stars. अच्छा चलो, भारी हो जाएगा, कोई बात नहीं, इतना तो नहीं है, तुम्हारे को इतना पढ़ने के लिए भी नहीं कहता. तो देखो बेटा, इतना समझ में आया that what is that position talks about and what does this position talks about. Now, so what is this question mark is all about? Question mark is something where your market share is low. You have a low market share, but the growth rate is very high. The cash usage is too much, but इतना cash आता नहीं है, generate नहीं होता, जिससे ज़्यादा खर्च हो जाता है. Okay, there is a very low market share. Now a lot of decisions are required to be taken when it comes to a particular business. जितनी कमाई नहीं है, इससे ज़्यादा खर्चा हो रहा है, right? So first of all, you have to figure out whether the products justify capital expenditure. Whatever the capital expenditure which has been done by the company. सो क्या उनको इतनी रिटर्न आ रही है कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर के बराबर? पता चले यू हैव मेड परचेज द मशीनरी ऑफ 1 crore rupees एंड द प्रोडक्ट्स आर नॉट, आई मीन यू आर नॉट मेकिंग प्रोडक्ट्स फॉर देम फ्रॉम दैट पर्टिकुलर मशीन, right? So what is going to happen? Nothing, right? After that, or whether they should be allowed to die quietly, कि चुपचाप से end up, or allowed to die quietly. So what will happen over there? Or else they will be squeezed out from the markets, from their rivals. So beta, there is a business, the relative market share, or if we talk about the income, that is low, and if we talk about the cash usage, that is high. That is high. कमाई नहीं है, खर्चा बहुत ज्यादा है. तो पहले ये देखो कि इतनी कमाई हो रही है कि मशीनों का खर्चा निकल रहा है. Then you can basically sustain in market, or otherwise you are going to die quietly, or else the competitors are going to squeeze you out of the market. Competitor धक्के मार मार के बाहर निकाल देंगे तुम लोगों को खत्म करने के लिए. Now, if we talk about dogs, one of the most critical situations over here, the market growth rate or the cash generation is low and the market share is also low. दोनों की दोनों ही low है. जैसे कोई बंदा आपको काम में नहीं आता, if nobody basically helps you in a particular situation, आप उसको क्या कहते हो? कुत्ता है ना? कुत्ता कहते हो, right? So you used to call him he's a dog. She तो कभी dog होता ही है. So he's a dog. Why you used to call it? Because किसी काम का नहीं है, जहाँ पे cash usage भी नहीं है, and there is low cash generation and low cash usage. Now, so if we talk about dogs, तो dogs क्या कर रहे हैं? कुछ भी नहीं. Dogs should be allowed to die, or they will be allowed to be kicked off. Allowed to die, or else they will be kicked off. Or they will be kicked off from the market itself. Now, what will happen? That in that case, so nothing is which you guys are getting. You guys are getting 100 rupees as your income, and the 100 rupees is expenditure. 100 रुपए की कमाई होती है बस, and that is the same as over there as expenditure. Both are low. So there is no basically reason to carry such kind of business. Okay. Now, moving on to next. So what will happen to the next part? Moreover, you can write one more thing over here, that dogs used to provide poor return on investment. You will never get any kind of good return on investment when it comes to dogs. When it comes to dogs, you will get a very poor return, right? And you will get the return which is not enough to achieve. Not enough to achieve. Not enough to achieve target rate of return. Target rate of return. So that your business is unable to achieve the target rate of return. क्योंकि dogs तो यहाँ तो बिल्कुल बेकार है. Should I go ahead, beta? Now, moving on to next, talking about the next thing, that is all about the limitations of BCG model. So BCG model is something which we talk about, the Boston Consultancy Group. It carries some kind of limitations as well. Limitations of BCG model. That means Boston Consultancy Group, they do have a kind of limitations as well. So first of all, they have not given you that how you define how one can define market. How one can define market. That means how can you figure out you belong to which market? कैसे पता चलेगा आप कौन सी मार्केट को belong करते हो? On which basis you are going to find out that you basically belong to which kind of market, right? Even there will be at some positions where a firm with basically low growth rate is achieving high market share, right? Or firms with very low market share are achieving high growth. Now, moving on to next. So every time what they have done that market growth and market share. Market growth and market share are assumed to be relatable for cash flow. For cash flow. When it comes to cash flow, so what they have assumed that growth is related with market share. इनका ये मानना है when it comes to cash flow, both of them are relatable. Okay, so next is okay, does not suggest. Beta, I'm already giving you guys 3 to 4 points out of the whole book. Please do not miss them. Your notes will be really important. Does not suggest any response to declining market. Declining market except withdrawal. Except withdrawal. So what we have seen that each and every time, if we have talked about that there is poor return on investment, or if we have talked about that not enough return on the investment, so that firm is going to achieve. So it clearly said allowed to die or kick down. That means you are straight away going to shut down the business. You are going to shut down the business. That means the withdrawal of business. There is no other area. There is no other area. So it ignores threat of substitutes. It has not considered the substitutes or the competitors which are available into the market. It has considered that yes, for one product there is only one brand which is available in the market. Okay, now that is sufficient. 4 points are sufficient, or else do we need to write one more? Okay, so what it says, dogs could be profitable simply be left, if they are simply be left to rather than be resuscitated. Rather than basically killing them, you are basically going to leave them. Just leave them. There can be a kind of situation when the dogs might get they might get a good growth. Such kind of business which are belonging to the dogs part, they might grow at a particular situation. जरूरी थोड़ी ना कि आपने बंदी करना है बेटा, एक ना एक दिन ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है कि वो हो सकता है शायद चढ़ जाए ऊपर. Right, such kind of things can happen into the business. So these are the limitations of a BCG model. Right? Now, beta, look over here very carefully. If you have any doubts, एक बार दोबारा से इसको देखो. You will understand each and everything. Now, moving on to next, what we are going to talk about? We are going to talk about the product life cycle plus BCG matrix. I'm going to combine both of them now. Now, moving on to next, we are going to mix product life cycle plus the next theory. Oh, this is missing. Let me draw it for you guys. बहुत अच्छा ड्रॉ नहीं करता हूँ, थोड़ा सा ऊपर नीचे हो जाएगा, पर ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. तुम लोग कौन सा कुछ कहते हो मेरे को यार, तो बच्चे बेचारे इतने शरीफ हैं, यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं कहते हैं ना. So beta, at over here at y-axis you guys have the sales, and at x-axis you have the time. So just like you people were infants at one time, business was also infant. Business was introduced, and at that time the capital was invested. So it is written over here as negative cash flows. Negative cash flow means the business was just started, आपने पैसा लगाया. After that, what happened to the next? Moving on to next. After that, you guys started growing. So over there was a low share, but the growth rate was very high because you started growing. But the market share was very low. So there, that was a position of. Then after that, what happens over there? We are relating that with high share, high growth, and you after need further investment. Because what we have basically mentioned over there at the stars में जल्दी बताओ क्या लिखा था हमने? That we require capital expenditure in order to maintain the growth position. In order to maintain the growth position, we require further investment, right? When it comes to maturity, what will happen? Then over here there is high share, but the growth is not that much. अब growth पहले जितने नहीं है, तुम लोगों की growth में मेरी growth में बहुत फर्क है, right? After that, there are large positive cash flows. But the cash flows are over there which are high. So low share, if we talk about low share, low growth. But now moving on to next, if we talk about dogs, बेटा dogs के अंदर हमने क्या देखा था? We have seen over there that there are poor investment, poor return, and that is not possible. So if we talk about the maturity stage, relating this is over there as life cycle, and this is over there as postal consultancy group. Okay. Now moving on to next, over there that they do have low share. थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा complicated हो जाता है, कोई बात नहीं. War horses, they have now it is going to decline. Business एक दिन अब खत्म हो जाएगा, it is going to decline. Dodos, they have low share and they have negative growth. Sir, dodos नहीं था, कोई बात नहीं, थोड़ा बहुत extra भी चल जाता है, कोई बात नहीं, that is perfectly fine. So when it comes to the decline stage, your business has started decline. That means there is nothing left over there which is now required to be taken care of. The business is going to die very soon, right? Now, beta, moving ahead. Now, what is left over there with you guys? Okay, let us cover one more topic into this class. Now, there are 2 topics. Now, next 2 topics are, or else let's do one thing. Let's wrap up the class over here. Let me wrap up the class over here. And into the next class, I'll tell you basically about Arthur D. Little portfolio matrix and Ansoff's model. After that, into the next class, so you'll be taking 2 more classes. Yes, पता था तुम लोगों ने तो पहले ही देख लिया. And after that, we'll be basically into the next class. This will be over. This chapter is going to be over. Now, bye. Take care of yourself. We'll catch you in next class. जल्दी से जाना, जल्दी से आना. Bye bye.